Yeah. So all these by the elite created events make them get money. So they have the media, they create a drill, so there is police and firefighters and medical personnel coming to a place, they sign, it's their work. They sign a paper to not be talking about that being a drill, and to the media as well. They're not allowed to, because there would be like with money, a poll they need to pay, and also they're expelled from their works if they do so. So I mean, if you aren't loyal to your person that gives you work, you get the sack. That's just the way it is. Not even by signing the document about the drill, but by signing your work contract. You're not allowed to go with secrets of Pepsi Cola to Coca-Cola and tell them, because you are a worker of Pepsi Cola, and whatever lowers the income of your company, you're not allowed to do. So that's within the most contracts. Even when you stop working for Pepsi, you cannot start working for Coca-Cola. So that's within normal working contracts. So you don't have to go, oh, you're not telling the truth about these drills. It's so complicated to have millions of people all shut up. Yeah, well, but people with a job take part in these drills. It's not people not unemployed, you know. If you're unemployed, you don't have a job. You're not losing anything if you lose that non-existing something. But if you have a highly paid job, of course, you got like duties, pay the children's education or the house mortgage, and so on. And so by that, you are in the hands of those people that give you a job. So if you are a medical personnel and you just, you know, go talk about like Columbine or World Trade Center, when the planes did not fly into those buildings, when they talk about that in front of the media, now it is those media are owned by the elite, so that media won't give you an interview and pay you highly. So there is no chance that all those millions, like they say, it's by now 6 million people working for the so-called secret agencies, but you know, all throughout the world. So what they do is they have their drills and then they film it, they put it up onto media, they own the media, so for once they got something to talk about, and then they talk about it for weeks, and then they let books be written, so people would love those books to be published. So again, their media, the publishing outlets they own as well, would print those books and by that make money. So it's always about money, those drills. So it was the moon landing, Roosevelt, the UFO sightings, by that the aliens, then the Kennedy shooting, then the suffragettes fighting for women's liberation, and the 60s movement, all done also via the music industry. So a lot of musicians that have died have never died, they just got too old to actually continue, you know, with a nice face what they've been doing so far. And then I've got the paper, I wrote it down. So it was the Occupy movement against the banks, where it says that 99% of the population own 1% of the world's finance and vice versa. The 1% they own practically everything. So by the ETH University in Zurich, it was proven 1997 that 50 different conglomerates like AXA, USB and so on, Philip Morris, I still remember, but 50. Going back to a Rothschild own 40% of world trade. So, you know, someone going to a market in Switzerland and like me selling a carpet, that's trade as well. Some trade, like in Africa, I wanted to say the guys on the markets, that's not the big companies. It's a big company if it's called Nestle, and if it is within one of those 50 conglomerates, and Nestle is. I think Nestle is part of Unilever, and then Unilever again part of some banks, you know, whatever. So it just boils down to them owning everything. So when this is the case, of course, it's all about finance, and because finance was what actually gave them, you know, the possibility, like there were initially Phoenicians that were just living a normal life. They were on their ships, they were trading stuff, they were building stuff, they were dyeing fabrics or building ships. That's what they had, being a, you know, kind of a tribe that was living all around the world. And go and find some books about the Phoenicians, you just won't. And I found out about that by the Gary guest writer on Miles Mattis, you know, PDF site on the updates, Gary, and he's a German. But early on at school, we had a library, and in that library, the books about, I was at history class, so of course I was like, okay, now there is Max Frisch, I could read some novels again, but I should not, so let's check out the books available within this library that would attract me and I would read it, even though it is about history. But they had nothing. It was an international school charging like 20,000 Swiss francs a year for the pupils to be at that school, and or it was just a trimester, so they had 60,000, I don't know. So they had like no books, and it's a shame that school is called École d'Humanité, so it's a school of humanity. You've got people from Japan, China, America, from all over the world, especially America. They have the American and the Swiss school system, so that's where I learned a lot of English, because it was always okay, speak English or German. It was possible to do your exams in the English system as well, like with TOEFL. If you know a bit about the English system, when it's about the language, there is this TOEFL, like what they want to have from you. It's the test of English as a foreign language. So it's really easy, those tests, and you know, it hasn't got anything to do with being capable of actually like writing a book in English or so. It's just multiple choice. You don't really have to think stuff through. You just have to know the answer. And that school was about the same, so they sacked me. I was sacked from that school, kicked. And for me it's a good thing, because I was never ever invited to any festivities. So there were people, creative people like Stefan Eicher, that he was at that school too, and he was attending, like whenever there is a festivity, they would of course want to have someone famous be attending, you know, so and then yeah, we are about hitting the valley, and I'm gonna give, you know, the laminated foils that I have created to the elderly home down there. Then I will have to take care that I don't run into morons with those stupid sticks. I mean, how can you walk up here with like 2 aluminum sticks in your hands? How stupid. How stupid is this? Yeah, people, they just buy whatever they find in the shops, but good working brains you can't buy, right? As well as wonderful air, creative energy, actually the knowledge to create and to not consume, the knowledge of be active instead of reactive like that moron buying those hiking sticks. So you react to a good that's within the shops and you say, oh yeah, let's buy. I need it. Maybe you don't go into thinking mode. You just let others decide what you need. And I tell you, you don't need it. You don't need hiking sticks. You can fall with them or without them. And as you see, I always nearly tripped. Like 2 days ago when I walked down here, I was sliding on these pebbles. You know, it can happen with good hiking shoes as well. But me going down and up here with my flip-flops, what I do each and every time is get a real strong foot. So when I trip over, and I have tripped over lately with some stupid sneakers like this, now it's almost healed again. So because I have real strong feet, nothing was broken. So I was actually, you know, turning sideways on my sneakers, and it hurt continuing walking, and also it was a swollen leg, that the foot was swollen for quite some time. And yeah, so yeah, what the elite did was taking over every business, including art. So the movie business, they took over. Like those people really interested in good movies, you can tell they live in elderly homes in Hollywood, and they have like certain resorts they go for holiday and stuff. And if they see a movie, yes or no, is really depending upon their lifestyle. So there is Miramax, and known for actually, and now all the movie companies do that. But Miramax took over a lot of Oscars just by having screenings of their movies at certain places. So you'd run into their movies being a old person. And then because you had seen their movies, the chance was given that they would actually vote for your movie. And I guess it wasn't a normal screening. There were, you know, foods and drinks and nice actors maybe. So you had a experience like on an event that you want to remember. Thinking back, you have good feelings. So of course you vote for that movie. Yeah. But why all the movies are so dark and not artistic anymore? And the story is like, give me the story. Is it just horror and sex? You know, placed beside each other? Yes, it is. But you don't find out because horror and sex excites us so much. We get into adrenaline and testosterone and whatever mode, and noradrenaline and 2 other hormones. And what we have then is our capacity to think properly vanishes. So what we do is, you know, hold ourselves to the seats, try not to fly off those movie theater seats, right? But if you actually watch analysis of prominent movies, you'll find out the construction is bad and the filming isn't really artistic. So I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and it was not good shot. Depth of field was never existent. No nice pictures, and even the artistic input was bad.